What's up, you guys? James Strickland here. Welcome to week 14 on my road to 700 pounds on bench press. Feeling great this week. Coming off of plenty of rest and recovery from the weekend. Hitting my bench day on my normally regularly scheduled day for a Monday. I typically hit the gym about 12, 1 o'clock midday. That typically works out well after lunch. Taking my last warm-up here, single of 515. This is a little bit heavier than I normally go because I am working up to 570 today. So instead of doing 495 as my last warm-up, I went ahead and opted to go about a middle ground and take 515. Felt good. Got up a little tight. Just back was tight. It's a little bit cool in Houston right now. We're dropping weather. Of course, it's wintertime, or supposedly it's wintertime. Houston never gets super cold, but 60 degrees, 50 degrees outside is enough for me to put on just a longer sleeve shirt. And I normally have to warm up a little bit more in the gym. But today's top set is 570 for a triple. Last week's 555 worked really well for me. So moving up about 50 pounds, or I'm sorry, about 20 pounds or so. 15 pounds to be exact, I think. Looking pretty good. Fast on the first couple reps. Third rep got a little bit out of the groove. Fatigue kind of starts to set in, but I think we're moving all right. So after this top set here, moving on to 5 sets of 495 speed reps. So these are working on not necessarily getting the bar down to my chest as fast as possible, but definitely exploding up. The eccentric I'm not too worried about. I normally come down pretty quick anyways, but I'm really working on exploding off the chest, firing off with every ounce of intensity that I can, but definitely under control. So you definitely see that I drop it a little bit slower than I pop it up. That's the whole point there. These speed reps really work to get some extra volume in my workouts, as well as working on that explosive power. No matter how much the weight is, I definitely want to work on exploding up anyways, but this is perfect for getting heavier, and when we start to touch 600 or plus pounds, I'm still going to be putting the same intensity. It's just heavier weight. I am going to show you. This was I think the third or fourth set today. This was a mishap, and I definitely want to put this on here on video for you guys. I'm going to slow it down here in a second. I'm pretty much thinking that the bar was slightly bent, and when I grabbed it, instead of it being bent in a downward motion, it was probably in an upward motion. When it hit my chest, it rolled slightly forward, in that I just could not hang on to that grip. But analyzing this in slow-mo, I don't see anything technically wrong with the lift. Right here, you see it pop out of my hand. Hand placement obviously was off because of that, but this is why I bench in a safety rack with pins. No spotter on earth was fast enough or would be fast enough to catch that. You literally would have to have your hands on the bar in tension in order to catch that. Of course, by that time, it probably would have sunk another 3 or 4 inches into my chest, possibly rolled back on my neck. But I am unscathed, no injuries whatsoever. Little shooken up by that. I did end that set. I think that was the third set, going on my fourth set. I was doing well with the speed reps. It's not a problem with the weight. Moving on, I have got my reverse bands. So this first set is 500 pounds. Very quick. Those bands take about 90 or so pounds off. Plus or minus a few right at the bottom of the chest, but I'm handling obviously the full weight at the top. Second set is 555. It's 3 sets total, working up to a total of 3 sets, two reps each, and working up to 615. But like I said, I obviously you guys see me work out quite a bit on my own. My spotter for the 570 did have to leave. She's got a small kid in school, so she definitely had to go take care of that. But I am fine, obviously, setting up in a safety rack here. Obviously, if I bailed on that weight and it was good to go, then I am fine. Skull Smash, a little promo for these guys. Steve over there at Skull Smash always takes care of me. Skull Smash Ammonia I put it down in the description as well, where you can get some of that. But it just wakes you up, gets you in the mood, gets you focused, and get your mind off of anything else that's maybe outside the gym or that's taken away from this particular lift. You know, this is reverse band, so it's not too heavy, but my grip is fine, but my mental stage is a little bit shaken because of that bail on that lift earlier. So I just needed to kind of put myself in the zone, handle the 615 like a boss. Didn't worry about that at all. Safe, good to go. Moving on, I have got dips, 2 sets, 6 reps each with 220 pounds. We're starting to get a little heavier with these. As you guys have probably seen some of my recaps in the past, these can get a little crazy depending on when I'm doing them, what I had for lunch, how I'm feeling that day, blood pressure. I mean, all sorts of stuff can go into this because this is a lot of weight to be hanging off your waist. Most people have issues with this, even with body weight dips. 220 pounds is no joke hanging from your waist, but these definitely help me to work triceps quite a bit, work the pecs, full range of motion, and really just work on my close grip bench specialty. I started getting a little lightheaded on these. You can't see it obviously on video, but I am pretty much blacked out this whole set. It's really kind of cool. It's kind of scary at the same time. I didn't feel a thing during this whole set, but I was going through mind-muscle connection and kind of motor muscle memory, and you know, just made it. Second set, this actually I was worried about it, you know, because I say worried, I was cautious about it like I always am, but actually this set went a lot smoother. I think a lot faster because I was already obviously primed and ready for it from the first set, but feels good. I'm happy how these went. Obviously we're going to go a little heavier next week. These are a staple in my peaking program as well as my tricep building program. We'll probably jump about 5 pounds or so heavier next week on these weighted dips. And if you have issues doing weighted dips, I urge you not to put weight on them until you're able to do a body weight dip, probably for 10 reps or so. If you can't do body weight dip, position yourself in between a couple of benches if you can. If you can put your hands similar to how mine are set up without them flipping the benches over, and do bench dips. Or if you want to put them behind you, it's not the same exercise, it stretches a little bit different, but you can do kind of some tricep dips that way on the side of a rail or a bench, something like that. Just work on getting your triceps stronger. When you can do a body weight dip, then maybe do 10 of those, work up to some weighted dips with you know, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, dumbbell, something like that. So moving on here, got some neutral grip lat pull downs. These have got a little bit of contraction here at the bottom, and this is 130 pounds. I actually upped that to 140 just because that stack went from 120 to 140, 150. Figured 140, and this is actually pretty easy. We're going to up this next week. This setup, this cable pulley system is a little bit easier than the dynamic fitness that I've been going to the last couple weeks. This is 4 sets. First set was 12, second set 10, third set 8, last set was 6, and feeling really good. Back is getting a lot stronger. I can feel it, which is great because as we get into the heavier 1 reps and you know, doubles and 1 reps, getting closer to meet day, my back is definitely a foundation for a big bench. Triceps can only move so much weight. I've got to be able to explode from the bottom with that back. My pecs got to be firing off at the right spots, and definitely got to have that mass just to move the weight. So I think this got the 4th set here. And I've got one videoed here. For some reason my GoPro was not cooperating today. This is 3 sets of 12 reps, 55 pounds. This is dumbbell paused floor flies, so getting a little pause right there at the stretch, and not too far down. I'm not trying to touch the dumbbells to the ground, just enough to get it in the pecs, let them get a good stretch, and really work that pec. That's what I was talking about, you know, getting the chest, getting the pecs a little bit bigger, stretching those out. These are great for building mass on the pecs. Right now I'm not working on too crazy of mass. I just want to work on getting some volume in those and working that out. And last thing for day 1 is tricep rope push downs. This is based on RPEs, so it's RPE 7 and then 3 sets of RPE 8, total of 4 sets. First one was 120 pounds and the last 3 were 150. These are actually pretty easy, but by the end of the day, with all the other stuff that's been going on, the close grip, the bench, working everything, these are pretty tough as far as the lactic acid buildup. The weight is not that heavy, but it's definitely working that volume. But definitely a good finisher. You guys ask, how the triceps can push so much weight. This is a staple. Weighted dips and tricep rope are my go-tos. But I think this is the last set here for day 1. Body weight was about 292 or so this particular morning. My diet is typically sitting around, depending on what day it is, a weekend or a training day, anywhere from 6 to 10,000 calories. It can vary. A lot of it is a little bit of junk food here and there just to get those extra calories in, but I do eat fairly clean. I eat a lot of chicken, rice, beef, things like that. All right, so first set of day 2, got some rear delt flies, and this is 130 pounds. This is pretty easy. This is kind of a warm-up set, definitely hitting the rear delts here. 3 sets of 12, no big deal. This is on a Thursday, so this week I actually didn't do my squats on Wednesday. I typically do Monday bench, Tuesday take off, Wednesday I'll hit some squats and some lower accessories. Then Thursday I hit day 2 of my bench days, so this is why I call it day 2. And then this week I actually opted to do squats and deadlifts combined on Friday just because of my personal schedule, and they're not real heavy, so I'm not having to worry about the workload on a Friday. In fact, getting closer to the meet, I may just altogether skip out on one of the days, possibly 2, just to conserve energy. But I do like to get in the gym just to have some alone time, but also just to feel the legs. I don't want to neglect them at all. They're not necessarily needed for bench, especially a bench-only cycle, but I still like to train them. Still like to stay overall pretty well in shape. All right, so you saw these last week. These are the Sir Charles lateral raises with the 5-second negative. I was able to acquire the 15-pound dumbbells this week. Didn't have somebody using them, so went ahead and got those back. And this is 2 sets of 10. You saw last week I did a set of 15, and that kind of went fairly well, but it definitely I felt that lactic acid build up. It's supposed to be 2 sets of 8, so this week we're upping it by 2 reps each set. That's progress. I'm urging you guys, if you're trying to figure out your own programming, there's nothing wrong with going up 1 rep, 2 reps in a particular set every week. You don't have to always move up in the weight, and that itself is progress. When you start getting to the point where you can't do any more reps, maybe drop the reps back down to a manageable weight, a manageable rep range that you can do with a little bit higher weight. So either you're increasing the reps, you're increasing the weight, or you're just mastering the current rep scheme that you have. That's still progress. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You can even change up the accessories just to hit it a little different. That's all different strategies to be able to keep improving while not getting bored in the gym. This is just another type of shoulder exercise. Keeps those shoulder and rotator cuffs healthy. Definitely hits your front delts, rear delts, side delts. It takes care of those shoulders, and it's not real heavy. It doesn't take much. And if I couldn't feel this, I would just throw a couple more reps in there, maybe a little bit more weight until I could feel it. But moving on, got my dumbbell bench press. This is my light bench for the week, and set calls for hundreds. The hundreds were a little bit dusty. I decided just to go ahead and grab the 125s. They look cleaner. I didn't want to get dust on my legs. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, I moved the 125 just like I moved the 100, so I went ahead and just grabbed the 125s. And this is 3 sets of 15. I did hit the 55s for about a 10 to 12 rep set before this, because I hadn't done any pressing movement of the day and I needed to get those warm. I don't urge anybody to go in there cold and start benching anything. Warm up every set, or every exercise. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It takes you a little longer, but you definitely will stay healthier longer, and you won't be, if I go in there and start throwing around 100s cold, yes, I could do it, and yes, I have gone in before, and I can do 400 pounds plus without a warm-up. It's not the smartest thing to do. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So moving on to my straight arm, fully extended dumbbell pullovers, 55 pounds, 3 sets of 15. The first set, really just working on getting loose, getting those shoulders open up. I really feel these in my front delt. I feel them in my tricep. these, I've got a little nagging kind of, I wouldn't say it's a strain, it's just little aches and pains that pop up every now and then, and I've got one kind of in my left shoulder. This aggravates it, but in a good way. It activates it, I should say, not aggravates it. But after doing these, it feels a lot better. So this is definitely good for recovery, active recovery. Definitely is a great stretch. It really stretches the top of the pecs, the lower pecs as well. It really just is an overall good, I wouldn't say strength exercise, but a recovery exercise definitely. Just keeps everything healthy. And it's not the tempo, it's the quality of the stretch that you want. So you really want to get back there without hurting yourself, obviously, but you want to get back as far as you can and kind of let that dumbbell really slow your stretch back out there. And then I normally just kind of explode up because that's kind of a natural state, but I don't want to just throw it up. It's fairly light, obviously. I can just move this around any way I need to, but really working on feeling that mind-muscle connection on this stretch. But fairly excited. This is I'm doing this voiceover when I've already gotten my programming for the next week, so I'll go ahead and tell you guys what's on schedule. I have last week was 555, this week was 570, so we moved up 15 pounds. So naturally next week we're going to go up 15 more pounds and go to 585 for a set of 3. And that will not quite be a PR, but we're right on schedule. In fact, we're about 2 weeks ahead of schedule than I was last year on my road to 700 pounds, where I went to the meet, did 672, and just barely missed that 702. That is not going to be the case this time. We are working this like a bat out of hell, furiously working on staying healthy, hitting every set and rep perfectly, just to make sure that this next meet is going to be where everything falls into place perfectly. But we're already 2 weeks ahead of schedule, which is perfect because it gives me 2 more weeks to do what I couldn't do last time, which I think is peak perfectly for this meet. So very excited. The rest and recovery is on point. Stress levels are in check. It is holiday time, which to me that's normally a pretty stressful, kind of exciting / distracting time of the year. Right around Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I think this year some things have fallen into place quite well, and I'm working the outside game, the personal game, pretty well to make sure that the gym game can be its best. So moving on, I got some dumbbell paused tricep extensions. These are paused about 1 inch or so above the floor, staying contracted the whole time, and really just exploding up with that weight. And this is 45-pound dumbbells, and this is 5 sets of 12. These actually, the first 3 or 4 sets are just fine. Don't really feel them, just kind of, I don't want to say going through the motions, but definitely not feeling much of any kind of strain or lactic acid buildup. By that 4th, 5th set, I start feeling the volume catch up, and those are the sets that I really feel like benefit me the most. Obviously I got to go through the first few sets to get to that point, but that's where these triceps are getting additional volume. So you saw it earlier in the week, weighted dips, of course close grip bench, of course the reverse bands, that's heavier at the top than it is at the bottom, so all that's working tricep. Got the bench, obviously the dumbbell bench press works a little bit of the tricep as well. You got these tricep extensions that work the triceps, and these are just a few of the things that are in the bag of tricks for keeping those triceps super healthy and super strong. That's why I do what I do with close grip. It's not by genetics only or by any kind of just experience or anything like that. Close grip is definitely personal preference, but in order to do it, you've got to have super strong trained triceps, and this is exactly what you see reflected in my training. So, but back to next week, we'll be moving up to, like I said, 585 for a triple. I would expect, obviously, that to go off without a hitch. If that's fine, we're going to take a deload the following week, which will be week 16, and then back at it week 17. We should be working with 600 pounds for some triples. And as long as everything goes well with 585 for 3, 600 for 3, possibly even 605 for 3. And then we're going to start kind of tapering down on the volume and up in that weight. If everything works out well, looking at a meet February 9th in Houston, Texas. It's not set in stone yet. In fact, nothing in my training is set in stone because of the way that I'm doing things. I am not training for a specific meet necessarily, but for a date in the foreseeable future where I peak perfectly for a meet to go 700 pounds. And if I can time it just right, then I think February 9th will be a perfect time. Last thing of the day and last thing of the week is throat pulls, and this is with a rope, and it's on a seated row. Really just working that upper back. Definitely can feel it mid back. And this is 100 pounds, 3 sets of 10. Just a nice little finisher here with some more rows. I did move on to do some Meadows rows for my deadlift day. I didn't put that on film. And some T3 raises, but that's going to wrap it up for week 14. I definitely appreciate you guys tuning in. Definitely like and subscribe. You can find me on Instagram at SwimHack, and check me out on Instagram. I've got a coaching special right now. If you buy my 24-week bench press program, you get entered for a chance to win my coaching. So see ya.